Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Inside. I am Bable Jonathan. We're coming to you from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. And within the context of the 2023 World Peace Day, we are looking at peace, which is described by international peace crusader, legal mind Tumfo Barrister Nico Hale as the most important asset, but which is paradoxically very much threatened at the national level here in Cameroon, at the continental level, across the African continent, and even across the globe today. Our guest today is Michael Egbe Taki. He is a federalist, chairperson of the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and activist, and also chairperson of the West Cameroon Movement for Change, member of the Human Research Ethics Committee, Open University, United Kingdom. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Cameroon, that used to be referred to as an island of peace in the Central African sub-region, and why not across the African continent, is today in a situation where peace, in a situation in which peace is threatened, seriously threatened by socio-political and security tensions, particularly in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, but also in the far north region of the country, where we have sporadic Boko Haram incursions, militants of the Nigerian terrorist sector Boko Haram, killing, destroying, and maiming in the different villages, in several villages of the far north region of the country, and also added to that, violence across the 10 regions of the country, killings, destruction that's been going on, recorded particularly in the major cities of the country, notably the political capital, Yaoundé, and the economic capital, Douala. Now, about the major threat to peace in the Republic of Cameroon today, the crisis that's been going on for more than 6 years now in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. What is your take on that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Babi, and thank you for having me on this program. I also want to thank our viewers all over the world. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And again, thank you for your question. I think the situation in the northwest region is that which is very, very unfortunate. It is extremely regrettable. Cameroon in history has always remained one of the most peaceful nations in the world. Right up to 2016, we had issues even before then, but there were always ways to resolve them without resorting to a full-blown conflict. But I think from 2016, Cameroon does not hold the record anymore of being a peaceful nation. Actually, at the moment, many international organizations, especially non-governmental organizations, think Cameroon is one of the worst in terms of crime at the moment. So if we talk about the South and the Northwest and Southwest regions conflict, it's one of the conflicts that I think, and many Cameroonians also think, was avoidable. If you take into consideration what this war into place, you would see, if you think back, any Cameroonian who loves the country, if they reflect, they would understand vividly well that this conflict was completely avoidable. In 2016, there was no such a thing as what we're having today called war. Civil society leaders, lawyers, decided to ask or pose a question that is absolutely reasonable in the context of a democracy. But what transcended after that brought us into where we are today. Had the government listened to the grievances that were posed by the then consortium of Barrister Bala, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be talking about conflict in the north and south regions. As a matter of fact, after 4 years, we would have been talking of very significant, I would say, peace in the country. But today, the north and southwest regions of Cameroon they're like a complete war zone. Not even like, they are a war zone because there is absolutely no peace. People don't go about their daily activities as they normally would up to 2016. By 2017, there were a lot of other organizations calling for peace. And I remember very well, West Cameroon Movement for Change here in the UK, we organized one of the largest, I would say, protest movements here in the capital, London, just to call on the government to look into the grievances that were being posed by the teachers and lawyers. And till today, if the government were to be honest, I'm sure they should be regretting why they did not listen to the call of the teachers and lawyers. Today, the war that we have in the north and southwest regions, I'm sure it was not anticipated. Neither the separatist groups nor the government prepared for this long war. And I'm sure the government is very, very embarrassed by the situation. So what's actually going on in the north and southwest regions, it's moved from once a very legitimate issue that the people of the north and southwest regions had into that of extreme chaos. I don't think the government even has any grip of the situation in these two regions, and they won't, except they start looking at very genuine peace strategies. Today, there is nobody, there's no single family in the north and southwest regions that has not been touched by the conflict in one way or the other, either in terms of, in terms of human lives or livelihoods. Cities have been completely abandoned. People don't own anything anymore, just in fear. They can't. Businesses cannot even operate because you would not. There's no way business operate in a war zone. That is typical of what is happening in the north and southwest regions. The government may want to give a different story, but the truth is there. Every single Cameroonian who lives in this region will tell you that there is absolutely no peace. Nothing is guaranteed. The future is extremely dark. The people are living in fear every single day. And I spoke to one of my friends who lives in Bamenda, and what they were telling me is that, you cannot even trust where you're going, whether you're going to come back. It doesn't matter where you're going. You have the military in the street. You cannot trust the military. Neither would you be able to even to know who is coming after you. So the north and southwest regions, regrettably,
despite all what has been done so far by the government and other stakeholders, including your organizations, that is the coalition of Cameroon federalist groups and activists, and of course the West Africa, the West Cameroon Movement for Change. Despite all what has been done so far, today You're describing a very bleak situation, a very difficult situation in those two regions. And many are now asking the question, what is the essence of the killings? What is the essence of the destruction on both sides of the divide?
I think, well, Mr. Babida, when there is the conflict, when there's a conflict in an area, or when there's a conflict in a country, I think situations get out of hand. You have a situation where we have a legitimate government in Cameroon that allows situations to get out of hand. So the essence here is that which is extremely regrettable, because neither the government, a legitimate government that is supposed to put in place, or that is supposed to guarantee security of the people, has a hand on it, has grips on the situation. They cannot handle the situation. On the other hand, groups that came up as a result of this conflict, in good faith, like the West Cameroon Movement for Change, today we have the Coalition of Cameroon Activists, groups of Cameroon, Coalition of Cameroon groups and activists. We are saying the way forward is not and can never be war. War is something that, violence is something that we do not support, and since 2021 that the coalition was formed, we have been working very hard to come up with a concrete way that would exit us from the present situation in the North and Southwest regions. And as it stands, there is quite a lot that we are still doing on the pipe, and we invite a lot of Cameroonians, especially those who have the federalist tendency, to join us towards this movement. Thank you very much for this concern. I think that is the major issue here. We have had the same question. The coalition of Cameroon groups and activists have asked such tough questions. Even Dr. Monzo, who was the then steering committee chair, asked the same question. But what happens on the ground is we have, as we always say, we have a legitimate government. We have a government that has an address. Let me put it that way. The government of Cameroon is the only entity in Cameroon that we would say has an address. Any other group or fighter or a armed person in Cameroon would be holding these arms against the law of the country, Cameroon. And the situation that we have in the northwest regions today and the southwest regions, the number of arms that we have in the streets cannot be counted. Which means, if this is the case, we have arms or we have weapons in the hands of even any kind of criminal, whether or not they belong to a group or whether or not they belong to the government. We have people who bear these arms and do whatever they wish to do with them. Unfortunately, as you rightly said, what we have also asked some of the separatist leaders is whether or not they can control the situation on the ground. And we keep challenging them as well, that they, who can identify themselves as having groups or armed groups, they should also be able to bear the responsibility of these groups committing atrocities that are completely against, I would say, international human rights. Killing of innocent civilians is something we completely condemn. We have always, in all forms, condemned any sort of violence. But I mean we, I mean those of us who are of the Federalist Front, those of us who think violence can never, ever win in any society. We have condemned this aspect of babies being killed. We have also condemned the aspect of even pregnant mothers being tormented. And we've always called on separatists to understand that no matter what they're doing today, they are being watched. There will be a moment when everybody has to give an account of what they have actually done. And no matter what they're doing, if they were indeed genuinely to protect or defend the people, they would not turn at the same time harm the people that they claim they are protecting, which is just exactly what you're saying. I wouldn't be able to answer the reason, the point as to why they do that, because I am not in any way of them. I don't know their mission. But we condemn every act of violence because we believe that violence is not the way forward, both on the side of the government and both on the side of the separatists, because there have been cases where there is evidence that even on the side of the government, certain atrocities have been committed, like the Rabu. So we do not condone with any sort of violence in either of these regions, whether be they the government or the separatists, because we believe that the way forward is not violence.
Over the years, there have been widespread condemnation from within and without Cameroon about the use of military force on the ground. But that has continued. Separatist fighters who are being tracked down by the military and killed, other civilians killed in indiscriminate shooting by defense and security forces. And this has continued despite the condemnation of the use of military force on the ground. What is your opinion about this?
I think what I would have to say here again is the fact that war has never paid. Violence would never ever prevail over peace. And I think whoever perpetuates violence with the aim that they're going to have peace, they are merely they are simply just unnecessarily wasting their time. Killings of any sort has never paid. So if whether it's the government or it's the separatist, it is, except they have a different reason, it is not for the sake of peace. The violence that we have in the country today is that which I would say was never anticipated, because if they were, they would have an exit route. So as it is today, the country is getting worse and worse. If we consider the North and Southwest regions as to be part of that country, then there shouldn't be any way that somebody can sit and generally say the country is at peace. So it goes back again to both parties. We still condemn the violence. We do think that Cameroon today has been destroyed by the war. And we call on the government again and again to seek genuine peace towards resolving the situation in the country. And the reason why we call them to pilot the peace process is simply because, like I said, they have an address, they are a legitimate government.
Let's go to the newsstands right now and take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. in Cameroon. Here is the press review compiled by Immaculate Fogwe.
As reported by the Garden Post, gunmen attacked Pamol Lobe Estate in Dian Division, Southwest Region, killing 4 workers. Newswatch says separatist warlord Field Marshal Bitakola and 4 other fighters were killed during a military operation in the Southwest Region. The Horizon further says the senior divisional officer from the Med Division, Tundong Chamberlain, was the one who displayed the corpse of the neutralized separatist general Bitakola. On the other hand, separatists announced the killing of 4 gendarmes by detained comrade in Kumbu in the Northwest region. Another issue of the Garden Post reports thousands of persons get stranded as separatists impose ban on interurban transport agencies. The Dawn in its edition pays keen interest on the floods witnessed in the city of Limbe. The paper says due to the heavy rains, homes got submerged, leaving civil victims stranded. The Garden Post: CPDM begins groundwork to renew President Paul Biya's life presidency project. The Horizon exclaims, Batonier meets Minres boss to discuss on the Rwadan bar exam problem. State-owned newspaper Cameroon Tribune focuses on the abusive use of pesticides. Government sounds another warning. The Garden Post: Professor Fu Callistus in an interview outlines Cameroon's huge mining potential. In another issue of the same paper, Dr. Fominio dissects rising coal in Francophone Africa during an interview. Another issue of state-owned newspaper Cameroon Tribune says rehearsals for the Cup of Cameroon final this Sunday. The match will be played between PWD of Bamenda and Fovu Club of Baham.
Thank you for staying with us. Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. Now, Michael Egbe Taki, chairperson of the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists. How can peace be restored in the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon today?
I think it's quite, I would say, it's quite simple and also quite complex. The way to peace is, first of all, for the government of Cameroon to engage in a peace process. It's for the government of Cameroon to acknowledge that there is an issue that needs to be resolved. As it stands right now, there are many peace attempts that have been made to engage both the separatists and the government of Cameroon. But the main stakeholder or the main person to stand in this process is the government of Cameroon. And to be honest with you, I think the Cameroon government is the one that holds the key to peace. The separatists, on the other hand, on many occasions, have agreed to engage in any peace process. The most recent was the one initiated by the Canadian authority. And what we know is that the separatist groups are engaging or accepted to engage with the Canadian talks. However, the government of Cameroon, to the best of our understanding, is the one that is either hesitating or refusing to do so. So the question about the way to peace at the stage that we are lies on the hands of the government of Cameroon. The government of President Paul Biya needs to answer this call. They are the ones who hold the key to peace. If they want genuine peace, that's what I'm talking about, not just peace, but genuine peace, that which is completely far away from the grand national dialogue that took place a couple of years ago. we're talking about genuine peace. The way out of this diabolical situation in the north and southwest regions is by the government of President Paul Biya engaging with any peace initiative that is on the ground, and to the best of my knowledge at the moment, the Canadian government are initiating one.
Backtrack and accept the Canadian peace initiative. Will that open the way?
That will be the first step towards peace. I am not a peace specialist in the first place. But what I understand is that in a situation as the one in the north and south regions, the two parties must first of all agree to talk. They have to first of all agree to talk. And as it stands right now, the government of Cameroon should almost align with what the separatists are calling for. Because what I understand is that the government of Cameroon is initiating some talks. From there will be a map as to how things have to go. There is no way we can have peace in Cameroon today unilaterally. When I mean unilaterally, maybe Cameroon alone just sitting and saying, yeah, this is peace. That is not the kind of peace that would solve the problem that we have in the north and southwest regions today. For Cameroon to have done that, they would have been able to listen to what the lawyers and the teachers and the civil society organizations raised at that time. But the situation that we have right now is going past that stage where the government should just think they can fix it straight away. At the moment, to me and to a lot of organizations, we think it is more complex than it. And for it to be resolved, or for it to an attempt to resolve this problem, it will involve a third party.
What is the coalition of Cameroon federalist groups and activists doing?
Thank you very much for that question, and I think it's a very interesting question. The coalition of Cameroon federalist groups and activists was formed in 2021. However, since they broke out of this present situation, this war in Cameroon, there has always existed a group of Cameroonians who believe that the solution to the problem in our country should never go or be solved via a violence route. So in 2021, CCFGA, that's the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists, was built. One of our main ethos is to completely condemn violence. We stand for a non-violence initiative towards the re-establishment of federalism in Cameroon. We believe if that the government of Cameroon accepted to listen to the call for the re-establishment of federalism in Cameroon, we wouldn't be where we are today. CCFGA have worked hard since then to today. What did we do? We tried our very hardest to bring people of the same minds together. When I mean minds, I mean people who believe in federalism. Cameroonians who believe in federalism. Not only before this war, not only after this war, but before this war. And of course, those that believe that the solution to this problem, or a long-term solution to this problem, would be federalism. So we've put Cameroonians together, and we continue to do so in terms of membership. We drafted a document called Federalist Declaration, and recently, after about a year of consultation, we've come up with a constitution of Cameroon Federalist groups and activists. So this constitution spells out exactly what we intend to see happen in our country. The Federalist Declaration is a document also that spells out clearly what we, as Federalists, intend to do, including our mission. And mainly is that for the re-establishment of federalism in Cameroon. We believe in constitutional democracy, and we think there is no way war or violence can bring long-lasting peace. So as it stands right now, we are working extremely hard, and we still have a lot of information, a lot of activities in our agenda. At the moment, CCFGA has not been registered, so we believe that we are going to work fully in Cameroon once we register. And we're going to be registering our organization as a civil society organization in Cameroon. And we will be asking the government to approve our organization because we want to mediate and bring forward a suggested solution to help resolve the situation in Cameroon in a substantive manner. And we believe if the problem is that of governance, and with constitutional democracy is the way forward.
In the context of the 2023 World Peace Day, I spoke to international peace crusader with over 30 years of experience in peace crusading in Tumfor, Barrister Nico Hale, and another peace crusader, human rights lawyer, Barrister Tamfo Richard. And now this is an extract of what they said concerning peace in Cameroon, Africa, and the globe at large. Take a listen.
Cameroon used to be described as an island of peace within a turbulent sub-region of Africa. You know, that a few years ago, I don't know, and a few years back, we heard of this Boko Haram in the north, and last 5, 6, 7 years is the Anglophone crisis. And you identify also pockets of, conflicts here and there within the country. And of course, talking about Africa, it's so generalized that and then of course extends to Europe. So the continents are all touched by conflicts, wars, effervescence, chaos, anarchy, total disorder. And you can imagine how my heart bleeds profusely as a peace crusader, long standing. So this International World Peace Day is supposed to be an occasion for all of us, people in the world, to get in the streets and thank God for the peace that we enjoy as we are exploiting His goodness in terms of resources, natural and human resources. Unfortunately, very few people can claim that they are enjoying peace, semblance of peace, because violence against one man is violence against all. Injustice against one man is injustice against all. So you ask yourself, Do we deserve celebrating the International World Peace Day? My answer is a big no. We don't need to celebrate what we have not been able to build ourselves. We are looking for peace by all means, whereas peace is a gift from God. Peace is a gift from God. Unfortunately, man has become so devilish. We have situations where this tribalism, nepotism, discrimination, hate speech, xenophobia, and exclusion. You know, whether I like it or not, Africa is the richest continent in the world and prides itself of, God's blessings. Unfortunately, we have not used God's blessings for the good of all. Look at Africa torn. It's being shredded by senseless wars because man is greedy. Man does not love. Because when man loves, what flows is justice, equity, transparency, integrity, dignity, honor. What flows from love is patriotism, love for your country, is the fear of God. What flows from that is integrity, dignity. And then there's peace that will exist. And peace is one of those in fact, it's the most precious asset for a human being, for a family. In your house, if there's no peace, you are a very good journalist. In your house, if there was chaos in your house, you will not perform. You will not perform. If I have chaos in my house, I will not perform. Very true. And of course, what you see in public is churned in our homes. It's churned in our homes because we have thrown away God. The major setback in solving a crisis is the poverty and unemployment. That the resources that are meant for the people are in the hands of a few. And so that creates unemployment. See, in Africa, see how they are crossing the Atlantic Ocean, going to die. They are dying. They don't care where they die, but they are living greener pastures. Africa has greener pastures. I'm going to Europe, to the US. So poverty is a major cause. Unemployment. Despair. People are groaning. People are poor. That is what you should say. Miserable. It's horrible. You go around in Africa, and I travel quite extensively, I feel sorry for myself that the same people that God created are the same people punishing others. You'll see one person will have 100 billion. To do what only God alone knows, 200 billion. Some they shouldn't celebrate. Whereas their neighbors cannot afford a piece of bread to live on. What kind of riches can you term that? It can only be evil riches. I call all of that blood money. See what is happening in the U.S. Every day we see people spilling hate speech on radio, on television, in people we thought could be a model. So where is there any hiding place? Where can you get any model? So our model is Jesus Christ. Our model is the Holy Spirit. Our model is God. We should follow God. We can follow God fervently, committedly, devotedly, humbly, with love. He's going to turn things around for the good of all of us. And I have hope that that can happen. I know we've gone through all of that to a point where you are sad also that there is poverty. There is poverty, unemployment. There's misery, but it is not all lost. Let us continue to pray. Let us also not only pray, because James says prayer without action is dead. Let us pray, but we must work. We must shun violence.
Peace should refer to a situation where there is no war, there is no violence, people are able to live in all tranquility without being disturbed or being in a state of fear. And when you try to transpose that definition into the meaning of peace as it is in Cameroon today, I think you agree with me that one may conveniently say that Cameroon is not at peace, looking into the fact that there is war that is going on in the far regions of Cameroon. In the northern regions of Cameroon, we have the Boko Haram, and also in the Anglophone regions, northwest and southwest, where there is war. And on a daily basis, in almost all the regions, we live in perpetual violence. We have registered deaths here and there. So it will not be an overstatement to say that Cameroon is not at peace. And that, looking at the situation today, I think it's high time that the Cameroonian government should try to look into its various actions towards peace to make sure that Cameroon is able to live the peace which is much deserved. Talking about the war that is going in the northwest and southwest, there is a lot of grudges. There are a lot of grudges on the parties. I think the first thing to do is that the parties should engage into a genuine dialogue. People should be able to silence the guns, face dialogue, the path of dialogue, and I think that what government should do first is try to see how those who are in prison will be released, because you know when you start releasing people, it appeases a lot, and try to see how you can give measures of amnesty to others, and maybe why not call for a ceasefire. And I think that if government, who is the major actor in this ongoing war, if the government comes and declare, okay, we have lived a period of violence or a period of crisis between 2016 up to now, and I think that 7 years or more is enough, and let's cease fire. Maybe these are some of the strong actions that if government takes as action, I think peace can return.
Those were interviews of the week. Michael Egbe Taki, Federalist. Have you been talking to both parties involved in the conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon? Have you been talking to the secessionist movement and government authorities? If yes, what have you been telling them?
That question is very, I would say, is very complex. The reason is because in the position of a federalist that I stand, we are actually, to be honest, we are actually a bit more in the middle, and we are struggling in passing our message across. The separatists think we are blacklegs. They think we are working for the government. So if you are asking whether or not we are talking to them about peace, then I think it's a very challenging one to do, considering that they are more of the fact that because we are not separatists, we are definitely working for the government. Myself in particular, I've had issues with them saying we are facilitating the government's motive of a unitary state. So it is a very difficult one for us to actually approach them and explain. However, we still continuously talk to them based on those who want to listen, because we try to make our messages very, very clear. We've put out a lot of messages calling on membership to join or build the Federalist Front. And we don't really separate, or we don't really say if you are a separatist, you shouldn't join the Federalist Front. It's a matter of ideology. we believe that the problem of Cameroon will be resolved and should be resolved by Cameroonians. And the way to resolve it is by coming together and looking for a common theme that would address the issues that we have. On the other hand, talking to the government thinks, in fact, the government doesn't even want to talk to us because they believe in a unitary decentralized system, which is something that we completely are against. So we are telling the government that you are breaking the constitution of Cameroon. And the separatists are doing the same thing. We have a country where we believe in constitutional democracy. So the position that the federalists are is one which is both both for the people and also trying to let the government see some sense into what we need to do in the country to resolve the issue that we have in the North and Southwest regions. So yes, in one hand, we are talking to the separatists, and we find it very challenging because already they've made their position and they are calling the thing we are aiding the government's position. While the government on their own, they think a unitary decentralized system is that which is the future of Cameroon. But that is where we completely differ. We think Cameroon should be a federal state. And we are looking at the re-establishment of federalism, not just a federal state without a definition of how the country is supposed to be. We have documents that have been nicely tailored on how the system has to be.
In which both parties seem to be at the extremes, holding firm to their positions, even though on the side of the government, the authorities and those who are close to the government in this ruling party, the CPM and so on, have been saying that government has been gradually changing its position, moving gradually towards the center. But from what you have said now, it is clear that the two parties are still at the extremes, one demanding for outright independence and the other maintaining and holding firm to a decentralized unitary form of government, form of the state. And now, in this difficult situation, can anything move? Can anything change?
We believe yes. Why we have these two extremes? We have a majority of Cameroonians. The majority of Cameroonians are listening to us. Okay, the majority of Cameroonians are listening to the Federalist Corps. At the moment, we have 3 Federalist units. One is in Cameroon, one is in Europe, and one is in the Americas. So what we are saying here is that we are making progress, and we believe that there will be a stage or a point where the government would have to listen. The government would have to listen because Cameroon is a democracy. And democracy is about people. It's not about power. It's about the people. And we are saying that the people actually are the power. So no matter what any of these groups think, in the end of the day, the rule of law, democracy, has to take its path. Cameroon is a constitutional democracy, and that is what we seek. The government, on the other hand, we keep calling the government, and the reason is simply straightforward. They are the ones who are supposed to make the right judgment or the right decisions for the people. Because as it seems or as it looks right now, they definitely are not doing so. because a majority of the people want the country to be together. Cameroon should be one nation, but federated, not a decentralized government or Cameroon. The decentralized Cameroon would still continue to face the problems that we're facing today, which is governance. And we believe in government, real federalism that would give this governance to the people themselves than to the hands of the people.
What are the next steps in your plan of action?
Yes, the next step with the coalition of Cameroon federalist groups and activists is to get our association or our organization registered in Cameroon. Cameroon is going to be our base, and that's where we seek to sensitize the people more and give them that opportunity to take their lives into their own hands. In other words, we want the government of Cameroon to listen to the people that make up Cameroon. And the plan of action, like I just said, the coalition of Cameroon federalist groups and activists, we are having a press conference, which I'm 100% sure we will be delighted to have you, Mr. Jonathan Babila. We will be having a press conference on the 30th, and there is where we are going to give out a lot of our plan of action.
That was Michael Egbe-Taki, chairperson of the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists, speaking to us from London in the United Kingdom. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of The Inside. Goodbye.